I think sometimes coaching questions are not solely coaching questions. They're great questions we ask around performance and coaching or a leadership setting or otherwise. They're almost like Zen questions. You know, what's the sound of one hand clapping? You know, really kind of philosophical questions. You know, when the tree falls in the woods, does it make a noise? And this one I have to even read it out because it still doesn't really play out fluidly for me. And it can be asked in one or two ways. And again, I'd judge using them both or one or the other, depending on the readiness of change for the individual or the team. And the question is this, and I'll give you the version of another one, which I think is an easier, perhaps, access to the question. Here's the question. What will we find out about yourself in 6 months' time that we now know, or we know now, depends where you want to look at it. So, a couple of things to change. You can change the 6 months, so you know, we're just going to suggest something. But what will we find out about yourself in 6 months' time that we know now or now know? And I think it's a really great question because that's what coaching does. That's what a good conversation does as a leader. That's what a good culture change plan does. It just accelerates what would already happen. And it's suggesting that we have the answers. And what will we, you know, what do we know now that we will know about ourselves in 6 months if we were to kind of, you know, transport ourselves there? So it's just a nice way of just bringing that kind of knowledge, wisdom, learning, might not be fully developed, into the present moment, rather than thinking, well, you know, we'll find this out on 6 months into the project rather than now. The other way you can play around with it, of course, you can play around with timescales, so you can make it further out, 6 months or shorter. That's fine. You know, people will also grasp it if you said, well, what will we find out about yourself that we already know now, you know, in a month or something like that? That's fine. The other things I often do is about, you can change individual team and organisation. So yourself, you could say, well, what will we find out about your team in 6 months' time that we know now? And equally, what will we find out about the organisation in 6 months' time that we know now? So a couple of different ways of looking at it. The spikiest one, the one that really gets to the root, if that is the appropriate context, is about yourself, about the individual, but you can shift it into a team. You could talk about the project, couldn't you, as well? Project or organisation.